Hello, this is Alex from NY Capture Photography, and today I'm really excited. I have an unboxing video of something I've been waiting for months. I'd go by the store every other week and look and see if they had any updates as to when it's coming out. I remember they had a big display in the store of all of their lenses, and this one was not there. So I kept asking and kept bugging them, and eventually it came up for pre-order, and it finally arrived. So I'm really excited to get out there and use this. It is the Tamron 70-180 2.8 lens for Sony E-mount. And I'm really excited. I have their other lens, the 28-75 2.8. And so I'm really excited to add this one into the mix. I think it'll be great for travel and just all around use, because I have the Sony 70-200 G Master 2.8, which I love, but it is heavy. So I'm excited to take a look at this one and compare them. In this video, I'm just going to unbox it and take a look at it and give you my initial thoughts and a little bit of a comparison to the Sony. And then in my next video, I'm going to get out there and shoot with it and come back with some images and talk a little bit more about it. So keep an eye out for that video coming out. But without further ado, let's dive right in. You'll notice I have inside the box the Tamron 70-180. It's the F2.8 Di3 VXD lens. They're model A056. And you'll see I got a B&W UV filter there. I know people say don't put a cheap piece of glass on top of a good piece of glass, but the B&W filters are pretty good, and I like to protect my lenses from getting scratched. So I'm going to open it up here, and inside we have the instruction manual. I'll take a look at that later. And it's pretty well packaged in the box and pretty secure in there. And it's in this nice little white bag. So I'm going to open it up and take a look. Looking at the lens, my initial reaction is that it is definitely lighter than the Sony G Master. It's shorter, it's smaller, it's lighter all around, and that's definitely noticeable. This lens has a 67mm lens mount as opposed to 77 with the Sony, which is great because I have the Tamron 28-75 that you can see there on my camera, and those have the same lens mount sizes, so I can use both of them. The thing about this lens is that it's a traditional zoom, and so there's a little lock on it that keeps it from opening and closing in your bag. But if you compare it to the Sony is an internal zoom, which I like that about the Sony, without having the moving parts on the outside. But if you can see the size difference, it's dramatic. And the weight is definitely noticeable. The Tamron comes in at 1.78 pounds, and the Sony is almost twice that at 3.26 pounds. So it's really noticeable, the weight, when you're hand holding it, it's definitely noticeable. You can see the obvious differences between the two of them. The Tamron is about 7 inches when it's closed and then 8 inches when it's opened, and the Sony is 9 inches. So even when it's fully zoomed, the Tamron is much smaller. One goes to 200 millimeters, the other goes to 180. So we'll see whether or not that's a big difference when I get out there. Will I be missing those extra 20 millimeters? That's something that remains to be seen. But in crop mode, another thing is the Tamron is 105-270 in crop mode, and the Sony is 105-300. If you want to use it. I have a lot of room to spare. I have a Sony A7R IV, so I've got plenty of megapixels, and so I could shoot in crop mode and get that little bit, which is nice. The Sony does have internal stabilization, while the Tamron does not. But the camera does have pretty good built-in stabilization, so I don't think that should be a big issue. And then there are some programmable buttons, a focus lock button, and different focus modes on the Sony, which are great features, but I never really use them. So I'm not sure that that's going to really come into play here. Sony has 11 spherical blades, and the Tamron has 9. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that'll affect the bokeh and see, how the images, how you can tell the difference between the two of those, and if it makes a drastic difference. But other than that, I mean, the thing I think I really want is that I want to have a scaled down kit. I want to have something that's lightweight, that's easy to travel with, to throw in my bag and take for shoots out on the street, or if I'm traveling somewhere, I want it to be as light as possible and as convenient as possible, but I don't want to sacrifice image quality. So that we'll find out in the next video. So I've given you a basic rundown of the physical attributes of these lenses. I'm really excited to get out there and test them and shoot with both of them side by side and compare them. I love the Sony lens again. I think it is really well built, and I love the image quality. I haven't had any issues with it, with the focusing that other people have had, and so I'm really loving it. However, it is heavy, and I've been doing a lot more shooting out on location, out on the street and traveling and whatnot, and so I want something that can be a little bit lighter. And although it has the in-body image stabilization, I think that because the other lens will be lighter, the Tamron will be lighter, I can keep it a little bit more stable anyway, so that won't be as big of an issue. So, the major issues are the size. The Sony is, an inch to 2 inches larger, and it is twice the weight. So those are major factors. But the biggest factor that I haven't mentioned yet is that the Sony lens is $2,500, $2,600, $2,598, and the Tamron is $1,199. So it's about a $1,400 difference between these two lenses. And that's a huge difference. And for me, I actually bought the Tamron with B&H's Paybu card, so they pay the taxes. So that saved me a couple $100. And I probably won't insure the Tamron because it's a lesser price, and I don't know whether it's worth it. I'll think about that. But so for the Sony, it's $2,600, and I paid tax on it, and I got insurance on it. So, we're talking that's another $500 on top of that. So the difference between them was probably more like $1,900. That's a lot. You could get, another used body of something, or you could go out and get their other lens. They have the smaller zoom that you could go out and get, and I've heard great things about that. The 17-28 lens, so you could have all three of those lenses for the price of the Sony. So that's something to consider. But I do love my Sony as well. So this Tamron, I'm really excited to test it out and see if it can compete. So thank you for checking out another video. I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and you look forward to the next video where I'll get out there and actually use it. Be sure to comment if you have any questions or there are things I didn't mention about the lens that you want to know about. And be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out for any future videos that I do. And I look forward to seeing you all soon.